Great, welcome, and we're going to call the meeting to order at 9:30 a.m. So first off, to adopt the agenda, be it resolved that the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board approves the meeting agenda dated July 24th, 2025. Any questions? Are we good? All right. Moved by Suzanne, seconded by Mark. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Oh, all right. So we'll move to the approval of the past minutes. So that's item 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4. Dr. all. Thank you. Do we have any questions on any of the past minutes? All right, be it resolved that the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board approves the minutes of the special 4.1 through 4.4. Let's keep that easy. Moved by Steph, seconded by Lori. And then any business arising from the minutes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick update. So most of the business arising from those previous minutes will be in today's meeting. So the RFP review, the strategic plan that was reviewed and approved has been posted. So the annual report and strategic plan are both published on the website now.
Yes, I just had it.
And the unrestricted surplus from 2023, July 2nd, has now been transferred to contingency. Thank you, Madam Chair. Any questions at this point? So we're going to now move on to our presentation. Welcome Andrew McCammon, Executive Director of Ontario Headwaters Institute, Watershed Security for Municipalities. So I will pass it over, and just a reminder to Mr. McCammon that the time allotment is 10 minutes for the presentation, and then we can move on to questions. So pass it over.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you, everybody, and in particular staff. We applied to depute several months ago, but you were without power for days and had a disaster across the watershed. So we hope you're recovering, and we're very pleased to be here this morning. In addition to this short PowerPoint, where I will try to not read my slides because that's really boring, we've provided a press submission that's in your agenda package. And in addition to the one-page introduction, there's a copy of Watershed Security for Municipalities with its 9 recommendations. So next slide, please. Very simply, we have been a charitable corporation for about 20 years. We were originally formed to protect headwater health because that was at about the time of Walkerton, and that board felt that water for all living creatures other than drinking water might be ignored in what became the Walkerton Inquiry, the Justice O'Connor Inquiry. And so my predecessors wanted to make sure headwater health was protected. And we recently evolved from that to promoting watershed security in Ontario, which we define very simply as healthy and resilient watersheds that protect regional ecological integrity, social well-being, and economic vitality. And I said I wouldn't read my slides. Next slide, please. We recently did a rather large policy analysis, and it includes, which you'll find on our website, a map of the 40-odd watershed management approaches being delivered just in South Central Ontario. There's 36 conservation authorities. MNRF has a role where there are no CAs. There's the SSEA, and there's 5 others. It is fragmented, it's diluted. Some people's water gets treated with more resources and more respect than other people's water. And we felt the situation was untenable. So we did this massive 14-page policy exercise, which had 26 recommendations to the province, to CAs, to municipalities. And there was just no marketplace for that, particularly while people are fighting Bill 5, Bill 17, Bill 2, and so on and so forth. And we boiled that down to a one-pager called Watershed Security for Municipalities, the need to integrate land use and watershed planning, with 9 recommendations. I do want to intimate right now that while so many organizations are opposed to Bill 5 and are working hard to have it repealed, and there are serious concerns in the AMO and other of your sister organizations, we are staying out of that fray. We're leaving it to the big guns, which includes, by the way, the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, who are very concerned about the return to the family compact of the 1820s. But we believe that regardless of whether Bill 5 gets repealed, amended, or stays as is, the most important element of protecting our watersheds is to integrate land use and watershed planning at the municipal level. Could I have the next slide, please? Thank you so much. You're well aware of the fact that municipalities deliver essential core services to watershed security, including land use planning and the management of drinking water, stormwater, and sanitary sewage. You also will be aware that the provincial planning statement provides clear direction to planning authorities to protect, improve, or restore the quality of water and to minimize potential negative impacts, including cross-watershed and cross-jurisdictional impacts. We boil that down to, just as you should be protecting what is leaving your jurisdiction and being inherited as base flow, quantity, and quality for people downstream, you should also be very concerned about what's going on upstream. That may not apply so much to the SSEA due to your unique geography, but we need a full watershed approach to protecting water equally for all people. As I mentioned earlier, we find the current framework of more than 40 watershed management approaches in Ontario to be untenable and unsustainable. Could I have the next slide, please? No, yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. So in order to not get tangled in the web of the political and legal jostling that's going on all these bills, and in the horrendously negative and curtailing framework for what watershed management used to be in Ontario and what it's been siloed to do now, we believe that the best way to have a positive way forward is for the municipalities to take control. Yes, they will continue to work with CAs and organizations like the Severn Sound Environmental Association. But if you don't integrate land use and watershed planning, what's the point? Land use planning cannot be done without impacting the water. And if you're familiar with the provincial planning statement, water is almost an afterthought. It's in the implementation. While I read sections of 4.2.1 about the mandate and the duty of municipalities. Most of the water implications of the PPS are on the implementation. They're at the back end. So we're going to approve 40,000 new houses. Oh, and then we're going to figure out where the water's coming from and where the sewage is going. This is backwards. It's leading to polluted waterways, and it's leading to biodiversity fragmentation. It's leading to all kinds of dramatic and negative impacts. And so we have suggested 9 recommendations in order to address that. And the only one I wish to speak to is number 9. I think the first 8 are relatively straightforward and understood. The 9th one comes from our belief that the developers are probably 20 to 40 years ahead of municipalities. And that's not an insult. It's not a slight. It's just a reality. They have a long time frame in order to acquire land, develop a plan, identify where it's going to be developed within current restrictions. But they don't just do 3,500 houses. Their plans include a university campus, an agricultural campus, a business campus. They're talking about really extensively altering the natural landscape and adding impervious surface to Ontario. I'm an historian. I can talk to you about the 1820s and how initial land conversion was minimal as people cut down forests to create farms. What we're talking about now is massive land conversion on an unimaginable scale, which is going to impact recreational opportunities for hiking, for fishing, for birding. It's going to impact biodiversity. And so the 9th recommendation is to say, let's take a long-term vision here. What is going to be in place for our grandchildren? Will they have greenbelt style core and corridor areas of natural heritage to protect our water and our recreational futures and biodiversity? So that's one of the recommendations that was in the original 26 in the Conservation Ontario package. And we think it's so important that we've borrowed it and we plugged it in to the municipal watershed security for municipalities. That's my whole presentation. We do have a draft motion for your consideration. I apologize that it didn't come 10 days ago. I have flipped it. Oh, I didn't hit send. I've flipped it to Nicole. My apologies. I don't know if I have access to the chat, but it's very simple. We would like the SSEA to move a motion to encourage its member municipalities to advance the Severn Sound Sustainability Plan by integrating land use and watershed planning. Very simple, consistent with your mission. I thank you for the time, and I hope that there might be some discussion.
All right, thank you, Mr. McCammon. First up, I will open it up to the floor for any questions from any of the members. Oh, Lori, go ahead.
Hi, thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. McCammon. It was very interesting to me, and I had read through the material before today's meeting. Recently in Oro-Medonte, we did pass a motion to have our municipality look at determining or declaring the moraine area within our township as a green infrastructure asset. Would you see that as part of the step as to what you're asking for, which is to, kind of combine the watershed and the watershed planning and land use? Do you see that as probably one of the steps forward to successfully doing that?
Absolutely. I've seen a copy of that. I've talked with one of the councillors. And there's many different ways this progress can be achieved. We tend to have a policy approach. The natural asset-based management system that many municipalities are currently considering is a second way. And what Oro-Medonte is doing is really a third way. So there's lots of ways. We don't have the only answer. We just think that municipalities have a huge opportunity here and responsibility to their residents' grandchildren to have a really long-term perspective. So I congratulate Oro-Medonte for doing that. I wish that would apply to the Paris Galt moraine and other moraines across the province where people have been lobbying for new greenbelt areas to be established for many years, including the old Blue Belt proposal. So yes, Laurie, very much admire what Oro-Medonte is doing.
Thank you. Any other questions? Barry?
I always got a comment, and I appreciate the Andrew. I guess my question is, you're asking to come through the back door. So where have you been at with the Conservation Authority? Have they acknowledged your 9 recommendations?
Acknowledged is an awkward verb. I'm not sure how to respond to that. We have kept the CAO of Conservation Ontario fully informed. We have made very specific efforts to indicate that we are their best friends. We're their biggest fans. We think conservation authorities have huge roles to play. Many of the municipalities in Ontario might increase their contracts and request for support services from CAs. They will be integral to establishing protection of the watercourses and for, in particular, the Greenbelt style core and corridor areas. We don't have the capacity to boil that down to be able to chat with each of the individual conservation authorities, but it's summertime and I have another job. And we plan to expand our outreach to all of the CAs after Labor Day. And we will also be approaching the AMO in August.
And just to follow up, I mean, municipalities are governed by the province, as you indicated. For us to go the opposite way and battle backwards only creates, I don't know what they would call it. All I know is that it comes, but to receive it as information, that's great. That's my position.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to interpret that one either. Thank you. That's 2 in a row. Thanks very much. The PPS is provincial policy. They're ignoring it. Previous governments of Ontario used to provide training sessions for municipalities on the Ontario Natural Heritage Reference Manual as a key element for their planning staff to move forward on the PPS. This government suspended those training sessions and is not only refusing to increase the commitment of municipalities by using the Ontario Natural Heritage Reference Manual as a baseline, but they're trying to weaken it and throw it out. So there's mixed messages from this government. You can choose the one that you think they're saying the loudest and most frequent. But Councillor, your question is answered by my response that it's in the PPS. It is your legal responsibility. You're telling me the province doesn't want you to implement their legal responsibility. Please put it in writing, because I would love to take that right to Doug Ford.
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. When you're talking about land use and watershed planning, we have in Midland, we have a lot of approved developments on the table right now, shovel ready, but developers are developing. Our last approval has gone through, and there's always the threat of OLT hearings. So when you're talking about watershed planning and the land use, to me that the provincial government wants housing and growth. Where I'm on the opposite page of that. I want responsible growth, but we continue to be, we continue to be told that if we stop development at the municipal level, we're just going to go to an OLT hearing. The developer is going to win, and we're basically, because the provincial government wants houses built. So we're kind of in a losing battle here. I get what you're saying. I understand, the importance of watershed planning. But with this government right now, the provincial government, the way it stands, I find we're at a losing battle. This subject.
Oh,
so how can we, at the municipal level, get this change without? And the only way I see it is a different government coming in. Originally.
Yeah, I'm very sensitive to the uncomfortableness of that situation, sir. I've got two short responses. First of all, the OHI is not opposed to development. We're not opposed to extraordinary efforts to address the housing affordability crisis. We are, we're completely agnostic as to whether or not somebody wants to build 3,500 condos or put 3,500 condos in 12 20-story towers. I don't care. Do your work, do the planning, figure out where the kids are going to go to school, figure out where your recreation is. Just don't worsen the quality of the water. That's the legal obligation. Work within your framework and do the planning stuff. Well, let's leave that aside. Sorry. The planning stuff should not be at the expense of water quality. Water quality is the bottom line. And so and the other thing I want to say is it frustrates the OHI to no end that most of our colleagues rant and rave about development as opposed to what I think is the trump card is do what you want, just don't destroy the water. I believe this is the key to a sustainable future. I love planners. I've worked in municipalities. I helped Vaughan get a gold standard new municipal office. And I love planners and planning and architects. It's all fascinating jigsaw puzzles to me. But you cannot be so obsessed with that you end up, putting effluent from your sewage treatment plant 3 degrees above the kill temperature for brook trout. We got to stop doing this stuff. And that's what's going on in Erin right now. A 3-year battle to put chillers on the sewage treatment plant. It's ridiculous. There, that was a pretty harsh opinion.
Is there, Suzanne?
Thank you again, Brian, for the presentation. Councillor Marchand from the town of Penetanguishene. I think, from my position, and I'm with Councillor Meridis, I believe in growth, and for smaller municipalities are relying on, but responsible growth for me is essential, and that is a piece that is key. I will not, and I'm very vocal about complying with this government just because they're the government in power. If we don't make decisions, responsible decisions, I think about my children, who are young adults and their children and what this means for them. It's about legacy work, and that's why I decided to run for council and be vocal about these pieces. It's not about, I'll just take it because this is the government in power and these are the decisions. If we don't push back, then we have no voice. I'm not sure why I was elected from that perspective. And so for me, it's really about ensuring that, from a water perspective, it's so much more than water. It's our environment. It's everything we can do collectively to ensure that we're doing this. This growth plan of this government, it's not affordable housing. That's where I struggle, and that's where we need it. Large developers are creating these large condominiums. That's not affordable housing. That's not helping this solution. And so, I think it's really important that we do it responsibly and that we are taking care of the environment and the water in which, we are pulling from. And you're right, it's not about approving a development and figuring out, oh, how are they getting the water? Where are we putting that sewage? What does that look like for our municipalities? And the burden then falls on us as smaller municipalities as well from that perspective. So I do appreciate the presentation, and I would support that we look at passing this recommendation this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? So given just some of the comments around the table, staff had kind of prepared a draft motion, which I think might be a bit more palatable. So I'll read it. We can discuss and kind of decide if we wanted to go at, relook at Mr. McCammon motion that just came through, or if we want to move this way. So this one is be it resolved that the presentation are a watershed security for municipalities from Andrew McCammon, Executive Director of the Ontario Headwaters Institute, be received for information, and whereas the Severn Sound Environmental Association is committed to promoting sustainable watershed health across its member municipalities, and whereas several of the recommendations presented extend beyond the SSEA's current scope, and be it further resolved that the board directs staff to consider the information presented and return at a future meeting with potential next steps if appropriate. So I'm not sure if that kind of is a bit more of a middle ground for the table. If we pass this back to staff, then we would do a bit deeper dive into all of the recommendations and then come back with kind of further information on next steps. I'll move it. Okay, moved by Suzanne, seconded. Barry, you're good?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I just gonna comment. Yeah, I'd like to definitely talk to staff about planning and get a deeper dive and see their thoughts on this. This is good.
Okay.
Okay for us.
Great. Any other comments, questions? Oh, go ahead, Steph.
Madam Chair, thank you. I just wanted to say, as part of that report, and this may be like a lot of extra work, and Julie, you can tell me to just go and do it myself. That's fine. But we talk about Bill 5. I know, very high level what the changes of Bill 5 are, and I apologize for that. I appreciate your presentation today, sir. I was going to say your response to Councillor Meridis should have just been your presentation. Anyway, my comment to staff is, could we include, I don't want to call it like a red line document, but maybe some changes of what Bill 5 actually represents from where we were and the high level concerns of what that change in legislation means to us.
Do we need the motion, or do you want to just have this? Do we need it amended, the motion amended stuff, or we just
if I'm okay with staff just taking that, and if they can incorporate it, great. I'm just for me, I think that would be a very helpful piece.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we have a mover and seconder. All those in favor of the motion on the table?
Without it being amended?
Without it being amended, that's it.
So as is, without staff.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's yeah. Not yeah. Are we good with the motion as on the table? Okay.
On the table.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Oh, sorry, Lori. Did you have a question, or were you just voting? Voting. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. McCammon. That was a very interesting presentation, and your passion is well received. Love it when people are truly believe in what they're doing. So looking forward to kind of what staff comes up with. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and have a lovely rest of the day.
Okay, so moving on to agenda item 7, SSEA business. So the first on here is the SSEA second quarter 2025 report, which is the agenda. So there, we're going to pass it over to you. So yeah, may I speak to that? Absolutely.
The only thing I would like to bring up is that you may notice it's usually alt text, And we have moved to a more visually appealing and we hope more interesting approach. So if you would prefer we move back to the 4 or 5 pages of text, we're happy to do that. But would appreciate even some feedback on this quarterly report as you see it.
Suzanne, I'm happy to comment. I think infographics are how information is shared nowadays. It gives a really good snapshot. Our organization, the SSEA, and your team are so active in the community, attending various events. Just even the first page, the amount of volunteers I had the opportunity to help with some tree planting. But there was a huge group that came from one of the local factories. They were having a great time, and like we couldn't keep up. I was so impressed with how well that they were doing that work. And so it's really great to see those numbers, like 4,100 4,100 seedlings. Like that was impressive. I did 2 buckets and I was done. So, but we really can't do this work for the volunteers on 173 people. Those are the numbers that your eyes gravitate to in these infographics, people out in the community, the work that's being done. So I really like this format. And so I would love to see this continue. This is a great way to get it out in the media. It's a great way for council members as well for us to have in our package for them to understand quickly, because it really is quite impactful. So kudos on the work done on this. That's great.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, just a question or a comment that Sustainable Severn Sound had John Main come to speak at the Quest presentation, and he hit it out of the park. So my kudos to John.
Thanks, Mark. All right, yeah, I would agree as well. It's a very easy way to pass on the information, especially to the layperson, which even for me, who's now supposed to be more educated on this, this is much easier to digest and understand. So, well done. Okay, so be it resolved that the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board reserves the second quarter 2025 report for information. Moved by Mark, seconded by Lori. All those in favor? All right. So we're going to move on to the financial reports. So the first one is the second quarter draft financial. I mean, I'm just going to probably pass this whole packet on over to Judy. And just so everyone is aware before we dive into this, we do acknowledge that the review, the RFP for the review is also kind of intertwined in this whole process. It is coming at the end of the, as Judy goes through the different financial pieces, so that will be coming as well. Go ahead, Judy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have before you the second quarter of draft financials. We're in wonderful shape at the moment because we invoiced our municipal partners in the first quarter of the year, and then of course it takes the rest of the year to spend those contributions. So things are tracking well. The core expenses are tracking about 47% with half the year gone by. So it's looking good. We've got projects on the go as usual. And although we didn't budget for species at risk from Restore the Shore and Biodiversity Enhancement in 2025, they're carried forward from 2024. So they're progressing till the funding is finished. And then, of course, new in 25, we have the Watershed Stewardship Hog Creek project, which is 90,000 funded from the province under the Great Lakes Local Action Fund. So that is the report question.
Any questions on this report? So we resolved that staff report number 15-25-SSEA regarding the 2025 second quarter draft financials be received as information by Suzanne, seconded by Steph. All those in favor? All right, moving on to the 2026 draft budget. Judy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the board will recall this quarter Q1 meeting held on April 24th. We presented the first draft of the 2026 budget, which reflected a $24,000 increase in the core share for 2026. It included grid movement, and minimum COLA, project activities known to date and based on historical. No change to our charge-out rates. It included provincial funding for the drinking water source protection in 2026, because we currently have an agreement that expires March 31, 2027. So staff calculated this increase to be at 2.2% for 8 partners, or 12.5% for 7 partners. So the challenges with the 2026 budget is due to the notice we received from the Township of Georgian Bay to leave the partnership at the end of 2025. So given that, it was recommended by the, in conjunction with the executive committee, which we met on June 11th, directed staff to provide a number of budget options to the board that also included smoothing, using reserves to reduce the impact on the 7 remaining partners. So the budget documents, or the budget options, pardon me, on the second page, I'll go through them with you. Basically, it's 3 options, with options within those for smoothing the reserves. So you will note the first option is the first draft that was brought to you in April. You will see the amount for the formula here is identical to option 2. Option 2 is taking that first draft, drawing from reserve to smooth the impact, coming up with a lower share for the partners by smoothing from reserve, which is very similar to refunding reserve monies to the partners, reducing the amount that they pay. The third option was the second draft that staff developed with a number of cuts. This and the following 2 options that follow are all reduced service levels to the SSEA. And the document that details which items are cut will be found on the highlight sheet as well as on the second draft revision sheet. So it shows which options, which cuts. So option 3 has the most amount of cuts. Option 4 then and option 5 are identical in terms of the starting point for the core municipal share, but have different draws from reserve under them. And the 2 documents, as I mentioned, the highlights and the draft revisions show what each option includes or excludes, I guess, given cuts. So reserves we'll talk about in the next report. I have provided budget details and a summary, and I noted, it was noted, and I should have perhaps put a column for every option, however, it might have been this way. So I showed some of the options in there, and basically the other options are a combination or a reduction of the number of cuts that are in there. So there's a detail, there's a summary. The projects, that's another issue to come up, is in terms of Georgian Bay, should they leave the partnership, projects that they participate in are RMO, risk management services, and sustainable Severn Sound, SSS. So there have been conversations with the district of Muskoka, who pays for RMO services on behalf of the Township of Georgian Bay, and they have agreed that they will continue to participate in this project in 26. Should Township of Georgian Bay no longer be a partner, then we would be charging for SSEA hours worked at the external rate rather than the internal rate, which the other partners, which our other municipal partners enjoy as a member of the SSEA. In terms of SSS, we do have some deferred revenue. I should start with, okay. There is an increase in SSS in 2026. And should the Township of Georgian Bay no longer participate in SSS, it would result in a large increase for the remaining 7 partners. So we do have some deferred revenue from SSS. Deferred revenue is deferred when a project, which is an ongoing project, doesn't perhaps complete all the works that were that's supposed to be in a given year. So we did defer some revenue from previous years where we didn't have the role of the lead person for SSS filled, so it was vacant for a while. So we were able to defer some funds forward to be used up by the SSS project. So there is enough money if the members would like to reduce the amount that each partner is charged for SSS. Should we be reduced to 7 partners in 2026? So I've shown instead of a 23.6% increase if there were 7 partners, we could bring it down to a 3.1, a 3, or a 2 using these deferred revenues, should the members wish to do so. So we have, as staff, recommended option 4. We feel that this is the lowest risk option. We feel that an option that includes 7 partners is the way to go, given the unknown status of the Township of Georgian Bay, since we're not at December 2025 yet. And option 4 is kind of the middle of the road. It's not all the cuts. It is a reduced service level because we did include suspending an intern position. However, it is kind of it's what we recommend as the lowest risk, and it's smoothing using the reserves, but not depleting the reserves. So that, in a nutshell, Madam Chair, is the report, and I'm happy to entertain questions.
All right, thank you, Judy. Thank you for all of the work on this. It's obviously a lot of moving pieces with the potential of Georgian Bay leaving, and I do appreciate and open to any options, but I do truly believe we need to plan for the worst case scenario that they do decide to use their exit clause and leave, because then at least we're responsibly set up and we're not going back to our municipalities. So that's just my personal opinion on that piece, but I'd like to open it up for any questions. I'm sure we've got good discussion happening here. Go ahead, Steph.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. I support the use of the reserves, and I'd even go and say option 2 would be my preferred recommendation. It does mean that our contributions are a little bit higher, but we would be depleting the reserves, absolutely, but that's what reserves are built for. They're built for times when things are, not going so well. And once you figure those out, you build the reserves for the next rainy day. I like the 75, 50, 25 model. I'm also okay with some adjustments to that. I know that staff came forward with some recommendations. One of them was suspend an intern, drop a couple other pieces, which I see as a decrease in service, and I don't want to see that. However, there was still the contributions to the strategic plan, stuff like that. There's little pieces we could get to bring it down even more. But I'm more of an option. I think it's option 2 based on what I'm reading here. We use the reserves, and yeah, it's a 4-year commitment. It goes to the next council, but it keeps things manageable, and I'll leave it there for discussion, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. So this is where I am right now. So I'm thinking to the future. And we've got one partner dropping out. We can't say yes to the next day. So they're out. So we're down to 7. So if we continue on this path of and there's election coming, right? New faces here, right? And they, who knows what's going to come. So I've had, discussions with people out there emailing SSEA, all these kind of budgetary factors that hit our tax rate, right? So I'm flipping it the other way. So I'm going to flip. So if our services are there, and I know Steffen doesn't want to cut services, but my take is cut the services that are recommended, so the SSEA doesn't go into, you know, a six part or 7 part or leaving, right? So if we don't do something now and make that decrease, what's gonna happen in 2026, 27, 28, right? Because instead of going at the trajectory we're going, we're going to be going this way. And a new body might come in and say, okay, so the SSE is important. I want to see it continue, but at a lower service level, which is what's recommended here is not we're not decreasing a huge amount of service. But I think it's a good path to say, hey, the SSEA is, you know, looking at its service for where can we kind of cut a little bit and still provide a decent service? Because I don't want to see a 7-part, and that'll be, and if that domino effect, then the SSEAs, right? Little funding, less employed people, less service. So we do some, you know, it is tough that when you have a number of you, but I don't see it, you know, I think we take some action now. I know it's going to hurt a little bit, but I think it will be more stable the years to come. So that's kind of the way it is.
Thank you, Bill. Suzanne?
Was there anyone else? I could.
Oh.
Someone else. I think Lori's hand.
Lori, yeah.
I just don't want to jump the queue.
Sorry, Lori, go ahead. You're muted.
There we go. Yeah, this is a really tough one, for sure, for all of us. And, you know, I've given this a lot of thought. I personally would go with what the staff was recommending. I believe that they would be balancing out, you know, the cuts in service as to what can still be sustained, whereas recognizing that, you know, we have to keep this decrease low. There was last year a lot of discussion around the Oro-Medonte table with regard to the cost for our support of the CAs and the EAs. And I've spoken at this table before about you know, having to do a better job of demonstrating the value to what the investment from the new municipality is, which I think the SSEA is doing a good job of. But I think layered on top of that, the ability for me to go back and say they're really looking at, you know, the business model. This is the effort that they're going through to streamline and to reduce costs. They're serious about this. They're listening to what their partners are saying, and here's a demonstrated their demonstration of that commitment to reviewing their business and their business model and the cost and, you know, and the value for service as well. So I would lean towards going with option 4 as recommended by staff, because I do think it sends a balanced message back to the municipalities that we're serious about this.
Thank you, Lori. Go ahead, Suzanne, then Kristian.
Great, thank you. So as a member of the executive committee, I do want to thank staff for the extensive conversations, and I wasn't able to be at our first quarter board meeting, and the direction was clear to come back with some options. And I'm always impressed with the SSEA ability to come back with options and recommendations, and that's so important. It wasn't hands in the air. No, this is what it is. We need to talk this. That's not the case at all. And I think we had initially like 2 options, and then, you know, send the feedback around, you know, really utilizing those reserves. We've talked a lot about reserves over the last, you know, 3 years at this table, and using them responsibly, and that approach of smoothing and using them over the next few years. I know it already feels volatile. The election isn't until next year, so I thought silly season, we still had another year, tongue in cheek. But we know that we have to make decisions today, and Councillor Meridis, I would echo your comments as well. This is about sustainability of this organization, the great work that's being done, making sure that there is solid foundations to move forward. I think this year's budget process for all of us, not just this particular number is going to be strenuous. It will be strenuous across curmudgeoning exercise this year for all of us. I think, that there's no avoiding everything that is transpiring. And I do really appreciate that there was a lot of thought going into each of the options. And I always struggle a little bit with the service reductions. However, there's really good dialogue, and when recommendations are coming from staff, I really take a deep dive into those recommendations to really understand those pieces. And I would be recommending and supporting option 4 that was presented to us. But I do say thank you again for the work of really looking at how we approach this budget this year, and how we look as the 7 partners. Hopefully we'll still be 8. However, we want to continue to sustain a strong partnership and keep this great work going that has through this organization. So just my comments.
Suzanne, Kristian.
Thank you. And I just very briefly want to articulate that my lack of input today should not be reflected as indifference. Rather, I feel that it's perhaps unfair that I provide commentary on this particular situation, given the fact that we may not be a partner going forward. So with that said, on a personal note, I strongly believe in the SSEA. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. And I don't know which way our council will vote when the decision comes to council. However, with that said, I would again, on a personal note, state that I would hate to see a decrease in level of service should we opt out for the remaining 7 members. So as Councillor Walma had mentioned, maintaining the current level of service, I think, would be, if I had to vote on this, would be something that I would strongly consider. But again, I think it's unfair that I raise my hand in this particular vote based on the fact that we may not be a partner, and I would hate to affect the trajectory of the SSEA for the future if in the event that we're not going to be participants. So again, I just want to remind everyone my indifference or my lack of vote today does not mean that I'm indifferent. I do believe in this group, and I'm here because of it. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. I think everyone at the table appreciates the fact that you're in a bit of an awkward position, and that's it. Mark, go ahead.
Thank you. For the record, I would support option 4 as well. What staff recommends, it's a gradual taking some out of reserves to do that, but I would go with option 4.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to say, so just for clarity, Judy, you can fill me back in. So based on option 1, the 8 partners, it's a 2.2% increase. If Georgian Bay does drop, the automatic is 12. So I get that part. That's using no reserves whatsoever. Option 2, 3, 4, 5. What's being applied here is we're not taking any reserves to offset Georgian Bay's exit. We're taking reductions that staff have turned around and suggested here. Or you turn around and say, we are using reserve.
That's it to Judy, but it's higher.
Yes, so thank you, Madam Chair. Option 2 is the same as option 1, only we're using reserves. So the budget itself hasn't been cut, but we're reducing what each partner would contribute by using reserves. That's option 2. Option 3 does have cuts and not using reserves. Option 4 and 5 have less cuts than option 3, both using reserves in different amounts.
From here. Yeah, so just 2 slides ahead. Oh, sorry about that. That's this is what you just walk through. Took a little bit here. So the first line is the blue that leads to school.
So these are the draws.
Yeah, but if you go to option 2, if you look at in the graphics there, that's the draw from reserves.
Okay.
So the first one at the very top is just status quo, and then the green is option 2. Sorry.
So the draws from reserves are only.
No, if you look at
So 2027 is not drawn anymore. Reserves. Oh, sorry. Okay. Now I got it.
yeah, it's a 3-year draw is stabilized. Give it another time.
I got lost in another area.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Steph.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My last go on this one. Councillor Marchand noted that next year is silly season, not this year. We have another budget ahead of us, and I know that the next one that comes around is going to be just as challenging or more so. Right now, we're got a table that's looking to decrease service. Next year, the option that we're going to have to save money again is one or the other, decrease service or use reserves. I personally would rather see, if we went with option 2 this go around, we let our municipal partners, our councils decide if a 5.1% is acceptable, knowing that we lost a whole partner. So we've managed, I know that we're talking about real measurable results, Councillor Hutcheson to our councils, talking about what we did. We lost a partner and we pushed our budget down to 5.1% to maintain service levels. I like that sell. And then if they're not happy, next year we bring back a reduction in service levels when it is silly season and everybody's trying to get everything down. Right now, I'm still stuck with option 2, maintain service levels, use the reserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. So I can provide a brief comment. And so although I certainly understand going with option 2, and it's never a good thing. You feel bad overdoing service levels and potentially a staff member, the interim position of being rid of a staff member, but it's a difficult decision. However, I do agree with the sentiment of the table that we need to look long-term here. We need to make sure that there's already talk at my table with the fact that Georgian Bay may leave. Does that mean another municipality is leaving? Where is that? Right? So I think we need to, again, to Bill's point, look into the future here a bit. A 3% is a much easier sell from my perspective than a 4.8%. 3% is just kind of in line. I think this is going to be a very hard budget, and I think we also have to note that with strong mayor's powers, this is another mayor's budget. So the mayor can just make these decisions on their own if they choose to.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure, but I just think we need to be aware of that as well. So personally, I'm in favor of option 4. But, so Bill?
Yeah, I'm still here. Option 4 is a good option. There's not much difference between options 4 and 5. And, we're looking at the partner shares. So I would just go with what the staff recommends. I'd also like to note that I know Georgian Bay is the use of words may opt out when you're giving notice to leave. That's a message you're leaving. It's not may leave. Basically, I'm taking it that you're gone. So so we have to look at it that way, as I said before. I also was looking down the budget and in the budget detail, and we have which I'm going to comment on consultant fees of 20,000 for, I believe it's for the grid movement for 2027. So why do we need a consultant for 20K? Why can't the board decide that's throwing money at the door. $78,000 for I think formula third-party review. That's throwing money at the door. We should be as our partners. If we should be able to tackle that on our own. So this is the kind of stuff in the budget that if someone dissects this budget, and it's just throwing money out the door, in my view. So there are savings in this this budget, and that's how we're getting down to 3% or 2.2. The executive committee has done great work here, and we continue to do that in years to come. Right? So there's money here that we can tighten our belts here 100%, and that's the way I feel it. And I still think that's as I said, I'll vote staff recommendation.
Julie? Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. If I could just briefly speak to that, Bill, so the compensation review is actually like a marketplace review, so we can't actually do that. I mean, I guess staff could, but we use a compensation review consultant. Everybody does that. All of your municipalities would do the same. And that's what we're suggesting is we defer that. Just defer that a year. The problem is if you keep deferring that, you end up with your entire pay, which is completely out of whack relative to the marketplace. But we're suggesting that deferring that for sure for 1 year works, and then a reconsideration at that point. So it's not actually the compensation itself, it's the review of the levels of compensation. Yeah. And we will be obviously carried on through the agenda. We will be looking at the RFP that was requested. One of the reasons we are continuing to bring that forward is because Georgian Bay did indicate that they would reconsider their resolution or their motion to leave if there was a review of the agreement, particularly including the funding. So that's why that has remained in there, but we can also discuss some options around that cost when we get to that before, but I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Kristian?
Yes, and thank you again. Perhaps somewhat of a digression away from the topic. However, I want to address a few misconceptions that may be present. One, our council specifically did not state that it was a fait accompli. We are not moving to walk away from this partnership at this point in time. As I just heard, our council is seeking to do a bit of an audit. For those that are unaware, we went to an RFP for water quality testing. We have many lakes within our jurisdiction, specifically inland lakes, that are not covered by the SSEA. And we wanted to better understand the costs associated with our allocation towards water quality testing in inclusion with the SSEA, while at the same time understanding if there were ways to drive down the costs of our membership and preserving and maintaining the membership and leveraging or utilizing the services of the SSEA in tandem or in parallel rather to our current water quality initiatives and efforts as well. So this was the intent. This was the impetus for us to invoke the exit clause because unfortunately it is required to provide the notice that we had to should the final decision return back that we will forego membership altogether. We're very open. And Council is very much open to exploring opportunities and synergies of further partnership. But again, we want to see how that's going to work hand in glove with our current efforts and or our future efforts for water quality testing as well. So I'm not sure whether this piece of context or information is going to help better formulate a go-forward plan for those that will be voting today. But I did want to address those misconceptions that it is not a done deal. Rather, we are hoping to explore further synergies at a cost that would bring value to our constituency. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristian. Go ahead, Gary.
I'll get back.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a couple of questions. Bill did touch on it. My one question was to do with favorite So that 20,000 that we originally, or got budgeted, is that the original cost when we did the original? Or have you reached out to a consultant for an update? That's what they would charge you.
Thank you, through the chair. We have not actually reached out for the update, so I know where you might be going. It might not be 20, it might be more, but.
No, it would be less.
Oh, you think it would be less?
That's,
I think-
if we base it on what we ended up, we paid quite a chunk. When we went back,
It was lower.
it's quite a bit.
And sorry, you say just redo it? Like this year, you don't remember? I'll reach out to your staff and see who they used, because I think we used the same consultant last time, and it was definitely a very reasonable cost of group.
So saying that, is it worthy to turn around and throw the SSEA when we do ours?
That was one of the recommendations we talked about as executive, was could we partner with a municipality as a supplement to update?
Because I think we even said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But but I wasn't sure if the 20,000 was
So maybe,
allowed for increases. That's
right, so
that's the kind of question.
maybe reach out then. No, it's just for the work.
Okay. No, I wasn't sure, so we haven't budgeted. Okay.
So reach back out to all of you to say, is anyone doing one, and would you consider fitting us in?
Well, I would.
Yes.
We would.
I'll say that. Huge, yeah, it would be
What we're all talking about. And so,
tentative of position. But yeah, you're right. Again, absolutely, it makes sense to the feedback is some of
I
that.
think the girl's name, Karen.
Oh, Meredith Love.
Marion.
Yeah.
Marion.
And
We just did. One.
well, that answers that question. Yes, that's increase. What's that for? Is that for straight salaries or sustainability? And just the.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You will see it on the detail. I don't have the detail sheet, but I've got it on the screen. It is the majority in salaries, but there are supplies and things.
Okay. I thought that's what it was. Just didn't have to see it.
And as we work through the grid, we're in a point in time now where we're all working through the grid. If we were a mature organization and had, or I don't mean it like that, but if we had the comp review done many, many years ago, your staff would be in all sorts of different places on the grid. Ours all started at the beginning. So for the first 5 years, you're going to have increases.
So would we get, so back up to go to the grids, so would we be middle at this point?
Ish, yes. Not everyone's at the exact same spot. The majority started at 1, so we're probably at about step 3, yes.
So it would just be, I think,
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I got that. So just on when we've done the different options, so if we decrease because we're losing a partner, did we always also factor in, if we've lost a partner, then obviously we're not wanting this to this municipality, so that's a decrease in service. Did we look at that, or we've just turned around and taken the whole amount? Like obviously, there's a certain amount of staff that have to do work that for committee. Have we reduced that in any of the options?
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. So that's, where we would take one of those positions, one of our positions comes off the table. But because our service we deliver is all intellectual property kind of thing, it's hard to take out any of the permanent core people and deliver to everybody else.
So that's what we're getting at. So we would drop an intern.
Yeah, that's one of the positions would come off. Yeah.
To cover the reduction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's one of the pieces in that list. Can I just add too that regardless of the position you choose, we know there's a ton of information in here. We are happy to do a summary of what all those changes mean so that when you're going to your council, for example, it is clear on, what actually is being reduced and changed within the budget. We're happy to prepare something. This is a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. because you have long-term contract and seasonal, like, correct, if there's like an org chart, kind of seeing that in those positions, and then what we're kind of, getting rid of that. Just spending an interim for a season, then we come back in another season, who knows? But as we go from step 4 to step 5 into the pay grid, right? I don't know if I'm going to get back to the funding formula, because everybody wants to pay less, right? But it's not going to happen. So this is why, go back to partners dropping out. It's all about what you pay, right? So do you want to be in it or you don't, right? You want to pay or you don't. So, and then it's up to us to kind of, as we did here, kind of services that aren't, they're all important, but the ones that aren't as important, a little bit for testing. This is being 7% that we have already. So, but and then we get solitary, right? So.
Also, it's a good point, and what we also need to highlight, just, even our summer students, that's all grant funding. That is not coming out of the operational contribution. I think, we do have a report in the package about all the grants that we're applying for, and this organization does a great job. And I think it's really important to highlight those pieces that, these are positions that are funded through grant opportunities. Summer student grant opportunities, all of those pieces. It's really pivotal, because there's so many of us that rely on those grants. One of the ways we get summer students here in my organization is through those grants. And so I think it's important to really clarify that when we're making those decisions, or why we do have summer students coming back, that's because it's funded through federal programs or different initiatives. And so we can't lose sight of all of that additional funding and the work that's done. It's a full-time job at this point for grants. And this organization does a phenomenal job of seeking those grants and really contributing to offset so that that our operational costs are continued to maintain, and we can provide all of these additional pieces from an environmental perspective that you do all of the work. So
I'm going to go back to Barry because I think we kind of just cut him off and one step.
So whatever option we do choose, turn around, I highlighted for each of us to turn a big back in the municipalities. That's going to be a huge benefit. I mean, just looking at it, we're all tied into asset management this year, so that's a major boost right there. Council, they're going to be struggling anyway, so the lower you can keep it, the better it is. Let's put that, like utilizing reserves steps that that's the only option we have at this point to either with Georgian basing, and I know a number of us, the funding formula has to. So saying that, I'll say that my suggestion down the road.
Okay. And then what you're talking about the funding formula, it may go up, and some municipalities may go down. It's not going to be. I don't see it being a huge difference of what's going on right now. So this is why I question that. Why a funding formula will determine whether you stay approved, right? So because everything costs money, and every year it costs more and more. So I just think there's little dollars of the income.
I'm going to go over to staff and then.
Sorry, did you call my name, Madam Chair?
You had your hand up.
Yes, thank you.
Oh.
I'm curious, based on last year's practice, our first budget meeting, we set a budget in principle so that we would send back to the partners for their palette. That was a direct request from Tay and Midland. Is that something we're doing this year? And if so, could we include the options that were put on the table for them?
I'll ask. Sorry, I'm going to ask just Midland and take that something that they're thinking of again, just to go back with all the options, show spelling on that versus go forward with. Here's our recommendation.
Yeah, so I like the options. I'm one of the sticklers when it comes to the budget process, but I can definitely chime in with their other councilors and see where they're at. But I think they're going to be happy with 3%. One that you're really happy with 2.2, right? So, and it's an no-brainer, right? So we get it. So, but I also want to point out that our budget cycle, this would be 2026 would be technically not SSEA, it's early, but this is my last budget cycle is the 2026 elections coming October of 2026, right? So we're not at the table again. So this is the last one. So right. So SSDA may have to because we're going to do this in the summer. But technically it's the last one. Yeah.
So I thought we had, that's the way we're going to proceed to prepare on and we would reach out to our municipalities, whatever we agree on the option, take it back to our municipalities to get their blessing
and then come back. Right.
Well, that,
On the options, right? On it.
yeah, so whatever options then we do decide to go with option 4. That's what the board's recommended. Here it is, council.
Yeah.
Here's what we were dealt with.
Yeah.
Should somebody turn around and say, let's go back and we'll take option 1 and set part. That throws it back into the board. Not that I think you're going to get that. I think whatever the board decides is what you're going to get. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
They're going to say no.
I think I would just add that the motion that we have here as a board is the one that we take for our municipalities to share. It's not presented in the 4 option and getting them to chime in. That's open the whole Pandora's box as far as I'm concerned. I'm charged to act on behalf of the town of Penetanguishene to gather the information, make sound decisions that I feel that I can bring back and explain and get support from my council. And that's what I hope we did. Just as last year, but it was a recommendation that we as the board voted on and then took back from pillars and then we thought if there was any concern. So I would say that it was asking a motion this afternoon, this morning, and then take it back for there's any pillar concern, but I feel confident in terms of option 4 that I will be supporting and feel that that is one. And then the one will be probably longer.
All right.
Okay, so more comments and just comment on that. And that works when it's fairly well when we're all agreeing on that 2.2 or 3%. The recommended was 3% for the right. So we're all on the same page there. Where it doesn't work is that if you go with steps then 4.8 and then I'm not in favor of that. I gotta take back my accounts because the majority of these, but I don't agree, right? So that's where that kind of so then I get consensus on council what Council Walma's saying that's his position. What's your position? And kind of how do you go there? Then we can come back. But at the end of the day, I think I said before, it's unanimous. Whatever goes here, then you have to bring it back to the council for approval. And if they don't approve it, then what are you? It needs to be an annex clause, like so. It's kind of right. So
It's
right.
You got
Kind of weird.
to figure out the middle ground. You got to figure out what you think your council is most willing to.
Yeah. So I could sell the 3%. And I have conversations, coffee with source and so forth. I think I'm selling a 12.2% or 5% is that would be the whole thing. So I appreciate again that the executive committee coming back with this. And I will say I was surprised. I was great. So and Councillor Marchand's comment with the grants, the people that have report of the grants.
All right. So given kind of the sorry, go ahead, Lauren.
Yeah, I just wanted to let the board know that I'm not taking into consideration the fact that next year is an election year. I don't think that should be part of the conversation. I think the conversation is more around, what is the council going to accept? I know what the temperature in the room is at Oro-Medonte, and that's why I'm supporting section 4. or option 4, because they are really taking a deep dive analytical look at the value for service. And if we can demonstrate that we have to pull in our bootstrings a little bit, just like all municipalities had to, that's going to resonate very well with the council of the day.
Thank you, Lori. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, further to what Councillor Hutcheson said there, it's very sad to see Georgian Bay go. I hope they stay, but in the interim, we have to make changes, and staff have made some changes here, and we're using up some of the reserves. So I still stick with option 4.
Thank you, Mark. So just kind of given the climate at the table, I think option 4 is what is the majority of members. Sorry. Oh, so yes, I'm good. Oh, I can't as a chair. You're correct. Yeah. Would somebody like to put an option, officially put an option on the floor? I'd be happy to put that. Option 4. No, I think we're good.
Before we put that option on the floor, just is everybody confident here that the option 4 can get through council? Like, because we left option 5, which is a no-brainer. That's an easy one at council. If you want 2%, not recommended that, but I certainly don't want to see question marks comments that someone else, some other municipality, entertaining an exit clause at 3%, which I don't think they would, but I just want, everybody's reading their council, and I just want to make sure that we don't, if there's an appetite for 2.2, then let's have a discussion. If not, then we're confident at 3%.
Go ahead, Laurie.
I'm confident that 3% would be well received in Oro-Medonte.
Yeah, it
works to have council.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the difference in a matter of $1,000.
So I'm happy to put a motion on the floor. So report number 16-25- SSEA regarding the 2026 draft budget be received, and further that the board approve the 2026 budget option number 4 as presented, and further that the board approve 2026 SSS budget option. Sorry, what's the number on that? Is that included in 4?
No, that's right. There's 3 options there.
Oh, 3.1, that is 2 separate ones. Okay, so I'm going to just do a motion for the SSEA budget. Is that okay? And then we can talk about the SSS. So the board approved the 2026 budget option number 4 as presented. Moved by myself. Seconded by.
So second, but the only thing that should be based on 700.
Yes, that's
okay.
clear enough. Yes.
As long as that's in the motion, so that everybody understands. So if GD does stay, it's less than 2.1. That's right.
Yes, so we're getting more services, the full service package.
Right.
Okay, can we have that in the call?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So the staff report number 16-25- SSEA regarding the 2026 draft budget be received, and further that the board approve the 2026 budget option number 4 as presented to the 7 based on 7 partners. Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Norris, Deputy Mayor Norris. Oh, sorry, over the meeting there. Good. It's all good. All right. Any final comments on that? Or we get to vote? All right. All in favor? Okay. Are you voting staff? So are you voting as opposed to?
I will be voting in the negative. This is my second favorite option.
Okay. Thank you, staff. Step opposed, Kristian, so,
Yeah.
Marchand.
Councillor Graziano's abstaining, correct.
So now we have to go on to the SSS budget, which is the three options for that. We just want to quickly review those, or if you think it's going to be now. Yes, please.
As you're all looking for page 33, for the SSS options. So you have 3.1%, 3%, 2% to cover the increase. And the increase is because of the loss of a partner and the regularly increasing cost within that program. They're fairly minimal programs, so there's not a lot of areas we can cut from. The suggestion, as Judy has here in the report, is deferred revenue. So that's different than reserve. That's revenue that is meant for that program that hasn't been spent. So that is what that deferred revenue is meant to be spent. If that helps.
Go ahead, right?
So just a quick, how much is in that deferred revenue? 40.
We're going to talk 49,000. Sorry. I got to stop right up. Let's keep every month.
Sure. 49. I was thinking that was some. Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, but I'm happy to put a motion on the floor that we look at option 2. The first, Councillor Walma, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Judy. I understand deferred revenue is not a reserve. It was last year's budgetary funding. However, does that not mean that next year we're still looking for that money in the levy? Does it push the increase to the next year as well? Because we may not have that deferred revenue.
Through the chair, you're correct. It's similar to using reserve funds in that sense. So the following year, you're out again.
So the following year, we'd be looking at 3% plus whatever the increase would be.
Correct, unless we have 8 partners.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments on suggestions? Did you put an option on the? Okay, so go ahead, Greg.
So just what Steffen's turned around and saying, so we have deferred revenue. So that's a separate account. What we're saying is that account was for that particular group. But I'm not catching whatever you term, like, I mean, it's already budgeted money. It's not in reserve, not offsetting. So it's just a carryover somehow. So say you don't spend whatever you have in that particular year, you're starting the following year on with whatever revenue you got.
You keep carrying it forward. If there's still deferred revenue left and the project is ongoing, you keep carrying it forward.
Okay.
So once that project ends and there's, or is that deferred revenue all used up? Could it go to a reserve? Or no?
No.
It always stays.
Unless that would be a separate issue. But generally not.
Yeah, so the deferred revenue is for that project, whether it takes 3 years, 2 years, or 10 years there. And then it never gets transferred over for us.
Unless a separate decision is made.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
Usually it's used up within the project.
Usually.
For 3 years. Yeah.
So
And that's ongoing for SSEA. A lot of our projects overlap year to year. So that happens at the end of every year. We did for revenue work to do so.
And now so far, the 49,000 is in that category, right?
So basically the increase remains. So it's 3%, it's 3% of that total account. Whether you defer use and any deferred revenue.
If we don't use deferred revenue, there's going to be a 23.6% increase for the 7 remaining partners. So you're gonna pay an extra $3,000 more than you would.
So that's where, because it's carryover. Doesn't become 23. Anyway, I'll let it go.
All right, so, okay, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, the first question I would like to be uncomfortable using deferred revenue as per the approach. And then from that, what would be our, if we are comfortable with an option that someone would want to put on a table that they're comfortable.
Yeah, so the way I take, and I remember the answer, the way I was taking it before, this revenue was being used because that project was 2-year project. That project came to the end, and there was a little bit of surplus, and then but that's not the case, right? So that means that ongoing, where are we taking this money from ongoing projects that are still, we're still in 2020, will be going on 2027. So at one point, we're replenishing this for that program that we're kind of stealing from now. You know what I mean? That we're taking from, because we're taking deferred revenue.
Right, but it's specific to SSF. So if we don't use it for this purpose, perhaps there's a project that comes up that we need to perhaps match funds and just as an example, then you would use it for that. Or if there's other things that come up, say there's supply items that SSS requires, that's when you use it. It's specific for that project. I'm not sure if I'm addressing your question.
Okay, so the 49,000 is not being used for anything.
At the moment, it's not earmarked.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
That, I'm happy to put forward option 2, the 3%.
I'll second.
Further discussion on option 2, are people comfortable with that one? Then that's a, yeah.
So this chart shows 3.132. So, and then all the numbers are basically the same, 15 and 60. So that's what the partners will be paying. That's the deferred revenue. Okay, gotcha. All right. I'm good. It's not a big difference. 3%.
Any further questions on that?
I'm going to read the motion again, that staff of Board number 16-25 SSEA regarding the 2026 draft budget be received, and further that the board approves 2026 SSS budget option 2 as presented. Moved by myself, seconded by Steffen.
All those in favor?
So partners again.
Oh,
Let's start.
Oh, you guys will.
yeah. Yes.
Based on 7 partners.
Based on partners and partners. Well, thank you. Yes, we got that.
Okay.
Okay. Nope, everyone. Yeah. Okay, moving on to 7.3, staff. Actually, yes. Yeah, we all do that, 10 minutes. And then a break, and then we'll reconvene. Moving on to item 7.3, the SSEA reserve. Some I'm sent back over to Jason and walking through all of this information that you create. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So reserves, this is the report about the reserve, what the reserves will look like based on budget options that were presented, but also the 2025 reserve schedule as well. And a little bit of rationalization and information regarding reserves, as well as I've attached the current reserve policy. So we didn't have a reserve policy until 2020. And then we developed a policy, and each year in the budget, we contribute certain amounts to the reserves based on the requirements and the needs of the SSEA. So a separate reserve, the policy was updated and then approved in 2023, and the separate reserve was set up for drinking water source protection reserve funds, which used to live in the contingency reserve. So that was split out for clarity. So the primary objective of the reserves is to ensure that monies are set aside for long-term goals and obligations. It's also for unpredictable events. And should projects not be able to be finished with the funding, you can draw on it. It's for a number of purposes. It's good financial management. It's good for cash flow. And it's an integral part of the SSEA's financials. There is a paragraph on page 2 of this report that refers to the investment opportunities, because I know that's been raised in the past, so I just put a little summary in there. As Tay is our treasurer of municipality, they've advised that they're earning more money on their bank account than they could achieve with term deposits in the past, and we earn the same interest that they're getting in their bank account. So there is no one-size-fits-all approach for reserves. It's really up to each municipality or board. What I would want to note here is that our employee benefits reserve currently is currently sitting at $33,600 at the end of 25 projected balance. However, there's a liability on our books. It's on the financial statement, the audited financial statements every year. So our employee future benefits, and you'll be familiar with this because each municipality has those. That liability at December 31st, 2023 was $79,700. So we are shy on the reserve to cover off that liability. The other issue is the well decommissioning reserve. There is a liability there to decommission all of our wells. Value was December 31st, 2024. $38,000. We currently only have $10,800 in that reserve. So just focusing on the 2025 projected for a minute, as you will see on that schedule, it reflects what was contributed to the reserve based on budget, what's been drawn from the reserve based on budget and or motions, I guess in this case, budget, and the resulting balances. It is worth noting, you will recall during the 2025 budget process that we had a piece of monitoring equipment, and it was to be $41,427. That was what we budgeted. However, we only ended up spending $22,981. So that's the actual amount is what's shown on the 2025 reserve, because we've purchased that equipment now and taken the draw from reserve as per budget, but it's less, so that's a good thing. There's also a draw from the Drinking Water Source Protection Reserve in 2025 from the town of Midland. So those items are all shown on reserve. In terms of, so let's go to the 26 now, sorry. The 2026 reserve schedule, again, reflects what budget is included. Each budget option has a little bit different reserve items going in and out. As you will see at the top, I've got each option listed. So there are some of the options included taking, well, we might as well focus on option 4 since that's the one you just approved. Let's do that. So in option 4, we are contributing to each reserve as in the past. We are also drawing from the reserve to smooth the impact as per the option that we looked at in the budget staff report, as well as we are drawing from the capital asset reserve for some IT assets. So option 4, you can see how the reserves end at the end of 26. In terms of the reallocation of reserves, which going back now to, schedule 2025, the 2025 reserve schedule. So the far 3 columns really address the liabilities for the wells and the employee future benefits that I just spoke of. So if we were to take those liabilities and bring the reserves up to match the value of those liabilities, then we would be reallocating the contingency reserve as shown in the second last column. So that's a recommendation that I strongly suggest the board take. I've had discussions with the auditor on this. And basically, by leaving all of the funds in the contingency reserve, when you have liabilities in the other reserves, you're artificially inflating the contingency reserve to appear that there's funds available for items when you actually do have liabilities in the other areas. So that's it. That's basically the report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Judy. I'm going to open up for questions.
Can I just in the employees benefits reserves? What does that all entail? Is it the full-time employees? Is it seasonal? Like what's that? Just trying to figure. That's just basically benefits, like employee benefits and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. It is only based on the employees that have employee benefits, group benefits. So it's only the full-time employees that incur employee future benefits.
And then when we get into, like you have in your budget detail, like you have your budgeted fringe benefits, benefit distribution, fringe benefit. What is that all about? Fringe benefits.
So the employee group benefits.
That's all group benefits.
It's everything. So it would be your MERCs, your EI, your CPP,
right,
those types of things, and employer health tax, all of those, as well as the employee group benefits for the full-timers.
Okay, and somewhere in here, there's also a reserve for employees retiring. Reserve. Employees leave. Is it for? I saw it in here somewhere. I was reading it last night. Just find it. Is that accurate, or am I just?
All the reserves we have, Councillor Meridis, are on the schedule. So there's 5.
Okay. So the benefits are just employee benefits under that reserve, that category. Correct.
Any other questions on the reserve tables? Do you have any other questions, Bill? I don't want to push this through.
I know it's okay. I'm fine with it. I just want some clarification. Yeah. I can ask a big date. Thank you.
All right. Oh, so go ahead, Judy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out as well, there's also a detailed sheet on the 2025 Drinking Water Source Protection Reserve, just so the board members could see how much was put in each year, how much was withdrawn and when, and in conjunction with the annual budget for each of those years, just for your information. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. If there are no further questions, the motion is that be resolved that staff report number 17-25-SSEA regarding SSEA reserve be received for information, and further that the board approve the draft projected review schedule for 2025 and 2026, and further that the board approve the reallocation of reserves in 2025 to cover known liabilities. Any questions on the motion? Moved by staff, seconded by Mark. All those in favor? All right, that's passed. And moving on to 7.4, SSEA agreement and funding for a third-party review. Julie, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. So as you might remember, this has been carrying on for a bit. I believe it was in 24 this first came up to do the funding, review the agreement, on the formula review, look at updates to the agreement, modernize, etc. And so we did go with an RFP. Finally, it had been delayed. The board directed delay at the end of 24. So it has gone out. I want to thank the Township of Severn staff who helped us. We've never posted an RFP before, so they let us use their system, helped us get it in the right context to get it posted. And we did receive bids on the RFP. We had staff as well as staff from the Township of Severn review, and we made a unanimous decision on from the bids that received. There were only 2 bids received, but we made a decision, as you can see later in the document. We felt that the one proposal certainly had people with had a more background and was more directly addressing what we know to be some of the questions you have as a board. They also, I want to point out, in their proposal, they did lay out the sections of the RFP with cost associated with them, and indicated that they would be open to a discussion if there needed to be on changing, refining, realigning some of the work for like what you might want to emphasize for work versus anything you think could wait. So the total cost with tax is around 79,000, which goes to 80. We proposed 3 ways to pay for that, so we are recommending moving forward with it. And again, I did include the resolution, one of the Township of Georgian Bay resolutions indicating that they wanted, that there was still an opportunity or room for them, as they've indicated here today, to not leave the partnership if this review happened and it was a favorable outcome by, I guess it would be December, end of December, when they were officially out of the partnership. So I did include that resolution in as well. So the 3 options we've included for payment, and I'd like to mention, and Judy can jump in if I'm not completely off base, but the options were to take the full cost from reserve, which my understanding is we can still do that and still have some reserve even with the proposal or with the option you've chosen for budget. The second would be to cost share equally, so around 10,000 each for all 8 partners, or a combination of the 2, so 5,000 each, for example, and 40,000 from reserve. So, Madam Chair, I think that's it at this time.
All right, I will open the floor up for comment or other questions. Barry?
Yeah, I don't support it whatsoever, never have, never will. Spending $79,000 for for an update on quarter agreement and funding formula. As we've talked, and I think even at the council table when we were going through our charter and CAO, there's nothing stopping us from having a subcommittee, have a reporting secretary, meet with the CAOs to update the letter of agreement, meet with the treasurers, come up with a funding formula. Didn't cost us anything. So that's where I don't support it. I see this, it's important. I think all parties want to see the funding formula. There's always so many funding formulas. Updating the one from 2007 to 2021 is just pumping an assessment. So I don't see it being an issue. I talked to her, she doesn't see it as an issue. So that's where I'm at. We're happy to put an amendment that we turn around and go with the subcommittee of 3 members, along with recording secretary. I have no problems in putting that motion forward. So I'll let it up to other discussion.
Okay. Bill?
Yeah, I've already expressed how I feel about this earlier. I just think they're throwing it out the door here. Literally. If I were to choose any of these options, I would take option 1. fully funded by current reserves. So, but then again, that's the reserves. What's that going to do? You know, year 27, 28, years behind, we're at this table again, and now here is partners. You know, if they drops, it's that almost that would happen, right? So that's my fear. Anyway, so not in favor, but if I was to, I'd take it right out of reserves. So.
Other thoughts on that? Suzanne?
I think this is one that I think I maybe brought the most important things to look at this. And I think, you know, it's always expensive to have consultants come in. I think the piece around using a completely neutral body that each organization would have an opportunity to discuss and chat and look at all of those pieces, I think is important, that neutrality of it. Because there was a sense that we weren't happy with the entire agreement. It wasn't just the funding formula. So now we're back at the table and say, oh no, we just don't agree on the funding formula. That's very different than what the conversation was. I think we really need to revamp and review the entire agreement in 2007. Because there's the belief you can't leave or you can leave and you don't have to give notice. And so there's been a lot of comments thrown around by various councils that, you know, there's no commitment by any of these signing partners, and that's not the fact. This is a binding agreement. And so I think that's the piece. It's for me, for the town of Penetanguishene and bringing this forward, it was to look for some solidarity as partners, that we could agree on what this report was going to look like, that if it was a revision and assigned a motion, but they were all on board and we continue this partnership. It feels like annually we're tiptoeing around the costs and, you know, we're losing partners. Are we going to lose more? The intent and where I thought we were coming from was to really solidify and strengthen the partnership by going through this exercise. I don't like the points negative of the one does. I think the piece here is the true intent of really strengthening the partnership. I believe in the work that we're doing, and that's really what I'm hoping this will achieve. And if I'm out in left field, then please feel free. But this is really about ensuring that there was equal representation, that we had a voice, that we looked at the agreement, and we all feel really good that we're going forward as a collaboration and as a partnership from that perspective. So I don't think it's just about the funding formula. I don't want to. I know that we're you know, budgets are a huge piece, and it is part of what we're doing. But I also want to do this in a conscious way, and I feel, because I think, you know, through the executive we chatted about to defer this again, and then, you know, we've got a request from George Bay saying, you know, we may not leave, and we need to get this done sooner rather than later from that perspective. So again, it's challenging for the cost of it, but for myself as a councillor from the town of Penetanguishene and being a committed partner, it was really, my hope was the goal was to really strengthen and solidify this partnership from that perspective, just because there's been lots of various comments thinking about this in a binding agreement. It very much is an agreement for us from that perspective. So I was favor using from reserves is really where I'm leaning towards, or, you know, I think it's palatable, half of it and 5,000 for municipality, but I'm leaning towards reserves. That's my comments.
Okay, Lori then. Lori?
Great. Well, first of all, I'm not sure about Mark or Steffen or others who are zooming in, but the audio is quite choppy. I've turned my camera off to try and help my connectivity here. So I have to say that I am in favor of going ahead with this for all of the statements that were just made. I think it's an important exercise to go through, although there is a cost to it. I think the benefit in the long run will be absolutely of value to the organization. And I would say option 3 would be the way I would lean. Thanks.
Yeah, I was gonna.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. That's Suzanne's comment. So it certainly is cleaner, absolutely. And I guess you would have to weigh in if you're taking staff time from your organization, what that dollar amount is. So, you know, and now that we have 8 partners right now, and if we're going to do this, this would be the year to do it versus when we have 7 partners, which is going to cost us more, right? So, and then what's that difference in staff time? Other municipalities, 10,000 each, right? So is it 56,000 in staff time, or is it 12,000? So we're going to go this route, absolutely. I would still take it under reserves. One. Yeah.
Yes.
So it is cleaner, and then so I mean, yeah. I'll just leave it at that. I just don't like spending.
Mark, did you have comments? Sorry, I missed you.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think that the review is necessary and it should be sooner than later. And for all the above reasons, but I would go with option 1.
Thank you, Mark. So quick comment. I do think it's necessary. I don't know if we have a breakdown, Julie, of the different areas of it. If there is the opportunity to potentially make it a bit cheaper, if you will, because potentially, you said they kind of blocked it out into different blocks of work. If there's work that we don't feel is as important, we have the ability to see that, just to kind of, again, take it down a bit of money would be, I think, palatable to everyone. With respect to the options, my worry with anything, honestly, other than option 1, is we all have to go back to our councils to get that $5,000 or $10,000. Springwater, I know specifically, does not sit against September. So we're looking easily the middle of September before we can even have a conversation with the consultant to move forward, and that could be, we might be too late at that point. I don't know if we're too late, but and then we're still trying to get buy-in from our councils, and if the council says no, then we're back here making a decision again. So I'm not sure how feasible option 2 or 3 are with the municipalities. Okay, that's just kind of my general comment. Short, if you will.
Yes, so I did include in the report, there's sort of 5 main components of their outputs. One of the things that only one municipality originally asked to have included, so I think is an option for removal, would be a comparison to conservation authority services, particularly right now, considering the province has significantly changed conservation authority, which I think is a very confusing world around the conservation authority piece, and that is something that I believe could be delayed or moved to another review at another time. I do believe there are some pieces in here that we might ask them to refine and maybe remove that piece, because to me that's a bigger discussion. And unless you actually want to become a conservation authority, I'm not sure there's huge value in going down the path of the difference in cost, because they are very different in what they provide.
Can I just ask another question regarding those, the 5? The first one, the vision and mandate review and verification, that one confuses me a bit. Would we not have that from our strategic plan and all the work that was done there?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do, and we could certainly ask them to use the updated one and turn that maybe into a confirmation rather than. So when they're one of the pieces that they would be doing is going to you without us, right? So they could bring that to you to say, does this still resonate for you as a municipality, rather than me standing there glaring behind them. But yeah, I think there's a couple places we could ask if they were willing to remove, for instance, the conservation authority piece and maybe do some refining and see if there is any wiggle room in that. We could do that, and I think we could bring that back even on an online meeting or something to see what change, or if you had a dollar amount you'd like to see it move to. How everyone worked out.
I know we're very sick. It's okay. Go ahead, Bill.
I mean, if you're taking stuff out, then basically you have to be okay, 10,000 for taking the reserves, and then whatever you can do to address staff, right? That's a good path forward on this one, so it needs to come back. I didn't want to trust your judgment and then get it down to, 70,000, whatever it is, right? But I know we're obligated at 10,000 from the reserves. I guess it's not really coming from the reserves. So it's not really costing any cent and any added value or anything added to go to as you stated to the council to get more funds out. So our approvals. That was
Steph, do you have comments?
Just that I believe the project's important. We should get her done sooner than later. So given the fact that a lot of councils won't be meeting for summer, etc., I am in favor of using the reserve to get this accomplished. I would just say again that if there's an opportunity to reel back in a partner, and I know Kristian's here and said that that is a potential, that I am willing to exhaust this resource. Thank you.
Okay, so go ahead, Barry.
So once again, this is really just pointed out, as far as I'm concerned, there's only two issues that need that's number 3 and 4. So that's where I'm more of a saying going the other way. However, saying that, if we can reduce down the ask of this, will give us a price on 3 and 4, but it's reasonable. I have no problems with that present, but I sure as heck will not support the 79,000. No way. So that's maybe that's where we should. What's the board's decision here? What do you want? Do we need all 5? Do you need 4? Do you need 3? Do you need 2?
So to Barry's point, can we get a little explanation actually on 2, because I'm not sure. To be honest.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the service inventory, I'm on the very front. I think we've already done that, right? Because a number of your municipalities asked us repeatedly for what exactly are you doing and what's the value. So I think some of that would exist and we can provide to them. They would not have known that when they did the PRB or the bid, I should say. Again, so that would be literally the list of what do we do for you, special projects and forward. So I think we have most of that. And that would certainly be something we could go back to and just say, can we refine the scope of this work based on what we already know we have and the fact that the board has clearly directed us that either their main concerns or main interests. But I don't know if you still need a max so that I don't just run off and spend 78,000.
So
they still online.
no.
Moving into question what I asked them is they're the ones that are leaving and depending on this possible outcome of
Right.
I wouldn't buy, but they
Might
see, but you can provide most of that information anyway. So
Go ahead, just Barry. I think it was mostly funding.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we can clarify, but I think from their motion, it was pretty much. Yeah.
We'll just they could get timeline.
So sorry.
Yes,
Go ahead, Madam Chair. Because they've given 2 years notice, December, the end of December. For this work.
Yeah. Will it be completed by October 1st?
We can go back and yes. I would assume so because the way their original timeline laid out would have started in June and they would have been done before the end of September. So I think if we shift, make it smaller, my suspicion is they still be able to meet like an October deadline. They could have it done before December. So, yeah, I could push to say we want to at least sit around like that.
Just 3. So really, let's say the board turns around and says 3 and 4. That's all we want. Is this insult? Well, just for,
I'm not sure. I mean, they indicated in the bids that they are open to discussing the scope of the work. So I think you go back to them and ask them how that would, if it still fits in what they proposed. Indicating what we already have, that we could use, like they could use as backup to do those two things and see what they say.
yeah, I'll just throw back to the board. I'm not sure. That's always been Dave's point, is those it was other municipalities or partners that brought in all the other stuff, so. I'm still in that position, so how do you?
Yeah, I think that would be valuable. I think, you know, when our RFP goes out, like they're going to throw everything at it, assuming that there's nothing to start from. There's a lot of pieces that have already been done, you know, just through the strat planning, the service inventory, and you're right, because it truly is community for. I think we've agreed that we can eliminate 5 if there's only one of this partners that was looking for that. And I think just to reiterate, there's 8 partners that are going to be in on this for this really are doing this work, and but it will, you know, also organizations, consultant firms look at the bigger picture and the bigger ask. But if they have already said that there's flexibility to support that energy, that we can bring this down.
If you're not chair, I mean, I can, rather than having an upper limit, I mean, I'm not going to just go and set and clear that that's not.
Yeah.
So if it, I mean, if I'm not comfortable with it comes back at, then I will continue.
Just one question, the cost of this report, and it says include comparison of CA. So is it the comparison report within our partners, or is it outside? Is that?
Thank you. I believe it would have been more external. So you're going to get this work done somewhere else.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we? Okay. All right, so I'm going to read the recommendation. This is what's like, and then we can decide if we're happy with this. So the recommendation is that staff report number 18-25-SSEA agreement and funding formula third-party review be received for information, and further that staff be directed to proceed with awarding the contract strategy report and refine the scope of work to emphasize the number 3 and 4 deliverables. And then I think from the conversation at the table would be further that the work be funded using. That. Seconder, Bill. Do we have any other comments? Concerns, questions on it? All those in favor? Okay. Opposed? Sorry, I'm not. Good one. Gotcha. Good? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Did you want?
Are you coming back?
Oh, sorry. Did we want a recorded vote? Just to say? Okay. Okay. We're good? Okay.
So you're going forward with that, and then you don't have to come back to the board. You're just gonna.
I'm not comfortable.
Right. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Number 8, SSEA corporate administrative update. So we will start with staff report 20-25, SSEA Watershed Stewardship, Hog Creek updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an exciting project. We have successfully negotiated a transportation agreement for the Ministry of Environment for $100,000 to work in the Hog Creek. Not brand new, so some of you may be familiar. It's been happening. We have shifted Travis on our team to that program. So he's now the Watershed Stewardship Specialist. He'll be coordinating all things stewardship related on the landscape, and specifically starting with a focus on the Hog Creek watershed. The Hog Creek, contrary to some popular belief, is not only in the Township of Tay. There is tiny Springwater, I believe a tiny bit of Oro-Medonte as well. So it's a really fun project in terms of a number of community partners want to be engaged and actually been leading a lot of the work, almost to a point of being ahead of us. But they're just a fantastic group of people. Some of them have been around for a number of years connected to this organization, including folks like Sandy Agnew and Dave Hawk, who are really helping us Just so you know, one of the things that I think is going to be really unique for this project, as someone who's worked in this field a very long time, is that we're trying to actually implement what's known as the one window approach, so that one person comes on your property, and if Travis can only offer you trees or citizen science, but you really want land securement, you want to be able to donate your property to something, Travis is going to know from this partnership who he should connect to it. So he'll be able to go on and say, if you're not interested in something Severn Sound does, we know who to connect you to. So to really help folks so they don't have this random assortment of people trying to get in touch with them. So yeah, that's that project in a nutshell. And we've done 2 already, and we'll be doing another, I believe September, I think, fall workshop. So if anybody's interested in those, I can't remember, Barry, I think you came to, I can't remember if you came to one of the workshops that are usually at the Basin Church. And they're sort of the information piece of, you know, what's a watershed, what are invasive species. We even had an invasive species walk. So just helping landowners know more so they can engage on their own property. So that's the other thing. If they never want to contact us again, hopefully they at least have some resources to help them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a minute to speak in support of this project. I went to the first workshop that they had, I believe it was at the Vasey Church. And yeah, thank you for explaining that there is a small part of Oro-Medonte that is Hog Creek as well. And it is really exciting. I've talked to Sandy about it, and it was very interesting to see the engagement from the community members that were there and the very solid questions being asked. And just, you know, their interest in this work and what can be done for them. So I'm just delighted to see that we've gotten this funding, and I think it'll be really very interesting to see how this rolls out.
Thank you, Laurie. Okay, so motion 2025-040, resolve that staff report number 19-25-SSEA regarding Watershed Stewardship on Creek project update be received for information. Moved by Laurie, seconded by Suzanne. All those in favor? Moving on to staff report 2025-SSEA building tree planting capacity in Severn Sound Watershed project final update.
So thank you, Madam Chair. This is a wrap up for the 2BT project. We had federal money for a number of years, and it is wrapping up. 150 participants ordered and planted over 9,000 native tree and shrub seedlings. There were 4 community planting events. Volunteers from Scouts Canada, Church Bay Hunters and Anglers, Raytheon, Alcan, all of you, SSEA Board. Most of you managed to come out to one. We had the MP and MPP out occasionally at events. So it's been a really successful program. It really helped us expand and modify our program, helped us get extra equipment so that we're better prepared moving forward. And it probably doesn't need to be part of the resolution, but we will likely be asking the chair to co-sign a letter to the Minister of Thanks, to the federal minister, and suggesting this would be great money to continue.
Questions, comments? All right, so motion 2025-041, resolve that staff report number 20-25-SSEA regarding the final update on the building planting capacity in the Severn Sound Watershed project be received for information. Moved by Mark, seconded by Steph. All those in favor? Right. Moving on to invasive species program update.
Okay, Madam Chair. The reports for 2024. So again, that reminder that this program is municipally focused. So the work that we focus on in terms of removals are on municipal property. So the invasive species reports for your municipalities from last year did go out. The staff have surveyed 77 municipal sites within the quarter. Done 16 management events and responded to over 58 inquiries regarding species-specific identification. We also have been successful in receiving, once again, we're grateful to the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters. They receive funding for summer staff, and then they provide those summer staff to other organizations at no cost. So we have one technician from them as well, who is a local young person who has an 8-week contract, so that's fantastic. And we have been fortunate in also being able receiving money from the Invasive Species Center. So at this point, $3,000 for washing one removal. Patrick, who runs this program, is very connected to the Invasive Species Center. So we're very fortunate in that we seem to get little dribbles of money for projects. So that's been great. And see that in the later report. Thank you.
All right. Questions, comments? No. Okay. So motion 2025-042, resolve that staff report number 21-25-SSEA regarding an invasive species program update be received for information. By Barry, seconded by Lori. All those in favor? On to drinking water source protection updates. Madam Chairs, you've got the report in front of you, but 2 key highlights to share. So we did send out 284 reminder letters to those non-hunting area that are impacted by the prohibition of commercial fertilizer. Very little response back. In the past, there's been some a bit more negative feedback, but this year we only received 5 phone calls. They were all positive, and additional 6 letters were returned for various reasons, including return to sender, things like that. So, so far, pretty positive experience for this round. The second one is the Source Protection Authority. I had the opportunity to co-present at the Ontario Waterworks Association. Presentation was on past environmental assessments and the importance of considering the source water requirements while completing those. I think that was a very positive experience as well. So there's about 55 people in the room, primarily consultants. So they're the ones doing the technical work. So it was a great audience. And my job was to basically present the process values in your staff report today. So very positive experience there. Questions, comments? All right. So motion 2025-043, resolve that staff report number 22-25-SSEA regarding an update on SSEA drinking water source protection activities during Q2 of 2025 be received for information. Moved by Mark, seconded by Lori. All those in favor? Okay, moving on to the draft 2024 annual reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it is a requirement in the agreement that we do an annual report every year. Some are later than others. This one is, I think, pretty good timing. So the 2024 annual report, which shows significant progress, as you'll see in the report, towards implementing the 2024-2029 strategic plan. So staying on target with strategic plan is important. So what we're looking for today, so I'll also mention up until 23, these were printed. We are no longer doing that. They are available online. They're a much more palatable visual, I think, when they're online. They can be downloaded, they can be printed. And if somebody desperately wanted a printed one, I'm sure we could make that happen, but it certainly reduces costs not having to go out to a printer because they also need to be bound. So we're also looking for approval on that report today, and then it will be posted to the website. A quick reminder that the reports used to have to wait for the audited financials. You had given us direction that we didn't need to do that anymore. We could get the annual report posted, and the audited financials are separate but referred to so that we can at least get the good information out there. Folks can wait for the financials as they. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
I just wanted that just another really great year of incredible work. A lot of great information and support that, you know, more and more we're moving to online versions and more condensed versions of annual reports, but really exceptional just based on all of the partnerships and everyone being highlighted, staff, It's just all the pieces of that has been done. So really great reports, and should be proud of everything that was accomplished in 2024.
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne, and I would concur, and I definitely think it's great to move to more of an online format. A, it doesn't have a cost down, and B, we are an environmental association, and as I'm asking you to print out a big budget for me, the less trees we're killing is probably a good thing. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make one other quick comment. You may or may not notice on the staff report. So although I bring the highlights to you, other people have put these together. So I do want to do a shout out specifically to Nicole, Jamie, and Paige, who worked really hard on trying to get any of us to give them enough time to review stuff, but getting these new formats, new modern formats out so that some of us who are a little bit older who still like to stick to the old stuff let go. And I just very much appreciate their talent and expertise and wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you. All right, so motion 2025-044, result that staff report number 22-25-SSEA regarding the draft 2024 annual report be received for information, and further that the board approves the draft 2024 annual report as final and directs staff to publish the contents of the SSEA website. Any further comments? No. Okay. Moved by Mark, seconded by Suzanne. All those in favor? All right, and moving on to past and upcoming events.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lots of upcoming events. It's been obviously, thank you to those of you who were able to come to the awards evening, some really amazing award winners and some really great feedback from that event. And actually some great connections made between old and new scientists too. So some folks sharing some information and helping us move some of those pieces forward. We did have, I want to say unexpected, because the minister's office didn't know, and we were not. It's not like we were given a month's notice. I think we had about 2 days notice of a potential minister's visit, and so we were scrambling a bit, and really enjoyed having the Minister of Environment visit. MVP Dunlop brought the minister to come see our water sampling equipment and just get to know us a little bit. So there's certainly some opportunity to follow up there, which has been fantastic. And we are certainly grateful for the number of grants that we seem to be also getting some positive response to. I would also just like to mention that we do have an upcoming, we have the open house upcoming in August 15th. And we would love it if board members could even drop in for a little bit of time and, help share the word and talk to people as they come. It's going to be in Penetanguishene in the curling club. Also, I'd like to shout out to the curling club, who is their own organization, but have offered us the facility at no cost, which is really wonderful. But we will, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, be also trying to do some quick tours of the historic projects in the park that Severn did a long time ago, as well as demonstrate equipment at the floating dock. So if people want to come see the sampling equipment, that would be great. The other thing we have coming up is this weekend. On Friday on Bass Lake. We've got a program right now that's has a summer student working on it that's called Dock to Dock. And so they're on our inland lakes. They're trying to take some time. We try to get people ahead of time to indicate they're interested on a dock visit, and then they'll share information on how to keep your shoreline healthier, maybe why we're having algae blooms, maybe you can stop using fertilizer, how to maintain your septic. But on Friday, we're doing with the township, and actually the provincial park there has offered to support us as well. But there'll be a drop-in at their boat launch. So we're going to have information, I believe it's from 1 o'clock until, no, am I right? Yeah. 1-7-ish. And so people can come again and see the equipment, get a better sense of, and we're doing this on the lakes that we know are having algae bloom issues to try to engage people better. Again, a shout out to Oro-Medonte, the township staff have been absolutely fantastic at encouraging us and providing us with some support, including help. And if anybody's ever worked with display outdoor tents, festival tents, you'll also know that we seem to be going through them quickly. They don't like wind. They don't like any weather. And so thank you to the townships who offer to let us grow stuff. But again, we can't guarantee we won't wreck your stuff too. So lots of events coming up. This is event time of year, right? We go to as much for Canada Day, for everything else that we can, and the staff are going as far afield as they can. I think they're also bringing us some folks at Aurelia, and there's a waterfront sustainability festival. We have some historic data from Hutcheson, and we have a staff member who's connected to one of the councillors in Aurelia and is encouraging Aurelia that they might want to reconsider having left the partnership. So that's the other reason we go to events.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Suzanne, go ahead.
I just had a quick comment about the minister. We think the committee is stay comfortable to be able to floating dock, life jackets as a recommendation, fees for visiting staff. I think the advantage we also have is this elected official, although this is not their riding, have strong ties with them each and I touched in this area. So I think that's really great. I think he was very much impressed with the staff and everything that was done that day, and so we do appreciate that. MPP that was able to bring him here, and the group stepped up and did that, and nobody fell in the water, which is awesome. Yes, absolutely. It was a great morning. Great.
Oh, go ahead, Lori. Go ahead, Lori.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to speak to the Bass Lake work, and it's amazing, and thank you so much for getting that organized, Julie. Just to give a brief update, we did at the last council meeting have a deputation done by the Bass Lake Ratepayers Group to try and encourage the township to implement septic inspection program around Bass Lake. They've had problems with blue algae blooms now for a few years. So I'm really pleased to see this proactive approach happening through SSEA as well. And yeah, hopefully we will have a good impact with the dock-to-dock program, and also with the information session happening later this week. So thank you.
Municipality that I see the municipalities who use us the hardest are the ones whose staff don't think twice before they call us. So please encourage staff to do that. Our expertise is there for a reason. That Oro-Medonte staff reach out to us when things like that proposal come forward and say, you know, what are your thoughts on septic systems and algae blooms? And so we really appreciate that. I mean, I shouldn't say that. We might not appreciate it if everybody starts doing it more ability, but I mean, I will. The team might not. But I think that's the value we bring, and that's why we're here. And please encourage your staff to continue to do that. And if they aren't, to not be afraid. We don't charge for our opinion unless it's on a specific development.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
No.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Laurie.
Sorry. Sorry, just to add on to that, Julie, it goes back to my comments earlier about, you know, showing the value of what the SSEA does. And it's things like this project that I can go back and have very specific examples as to how there's a partnership between staff and the SSEA and the benefit it's giving our community, therefore the value for money. So it's, you know, if you can take it all full circle like that, when you're having that conversation around the council table, around budget time, this kind of stuff really matters.
Very good point, Laurie. All right, so motion 2025-045, resolve that staff report number 24-25-SSEA regarding SSEA past and upcoming events be received for information. Moved by Laurie, seconded by Bill. All those in favor? All right, and you will move on to the grant applications update.
Madam Chair, so this is significant this year. I mean, it was significant last year. I'm not sure if I just wasn't paying as close attention. And the reason I say significant is twofold. One, the dollar value is significant, but as an older person in the organization, what I often tell staff is you also need to be prepared for success. Because a lot of times we assume we're not going to get things, and then when you get them, you have to deliver them. And so there's a lot of program right now that we're looking at being able to expand or deliver that's new. As we head into Q3, we're pushing close to 600,000, which is amazing, and that's leveraged money. So that's money that we're using to do program work beyond what we could do straight with the core, right? So the core does not cover stewardship work and all those other things, supplies, all the stuff. The core that you're paying covers our people and our brain power, and this type of this funding is how we get bigger polls and equipment to do our polls, equipment to do our water sampling, and all of that great stuff. You can see all of the pieces in there. The challenge for us, so is we can't always put them in staff reports because sometimes the funders are not prepared for anything to go public until they get a chance to make things go public. But in that case, we usually just say we're negotiating, so at least you see it coming up. And some of these are over more than 1 year, so that doesn't mean we're getting all of that money right now to spend, thank goodness, because that would be tough to do by the end of December. Or some of it's government, which means it goes till March 31st, so there's some fiscal juggling. We are currently, I think I'm okay to say, negotiating with Intact Foundation for $200,000 to do some flood policy work. And we have a close relationship with the TAY staff on that one, so they've been very much supportive as we're trying to move that piece forward. We are also negotiating an agreement with Conservation Ontario for something that's it's federal money that went to the province to go to Conservation Ontario to go to other organizations. That's a bit of an administrative loop, but that will be to do similar work to the Hog Creek project, but to take lessons learned from Hog Creek and try to expand it to anybody and anywhere in the watershed. And that will be on farm only. So that's a marginal land program that works with our agriculture community. And then the other one that's slightly unexpected because we started talking about it 2 years ago is the Canada Water Agency has just awarded us a $40,000 grant to basically put together the history of, and that's in Q3, but anyway, the history of how we went from a RAP to delisting to being a member of the Lake-wide Management Plan. So to kind of capture that information, which we would have wanted to do anyway, but it would be nice to be able to pay someone to help us write it. So all good news, and that all takes a ton of time. I believe Steffen has mentioned before. I mean, that's a lot of places have a body dedicated to doing this. This is what our staff do, as well as their full-time jobs. So I just big kudos to the team. I've disengaged from this more and more, and the team is just running with it, doing clearly a very good job.
Thank you, Julie. Amazing work. That's an amazing amount of money to bring in. And again, the fact that, staff are doing this again off the side of their desk with another job is really commendable. And lean operations like this make it easier again to help staff do it. So thank you. Any comments, questions on any of the grant application work? Keep up the good work. All right, so that is motion 2025-046. Resolve that staff report number 25-25-SSEA regarding grant application update be received for information. Moved by Barry, seconded by Suzanne. All those in favor? All right, and on to the Executive Director to update. Thank you. This is an on-table report. It just summarizes for you so you can see each quarter sort of where the focus of my time seems to get spent.
It shifts a little bit. Again, grant application review and then negotiating the agreements is not easy all the time. Often we're going back and forth a fair bit. And I say that particularly because as a joint municipal service board, we're a pretty unique entity. So sometimes that is confusing, but it seems to be working out well. A couple things through the report. I want to say again, thank you to the Township of Severn for the agreement review piece, for holding our hand through doing an RFP posting and then knowing all the steps that we need to take. Monitoring, we've made some significant changes, as you probably noted, to the monitoring program. So way more often on the inland lakes, observations, and we put up signs with QR codes at all of our inland lakes at public spaces. So thank you to those of your municipalities whose staff took that on and did that for us. Again, you got to be prepared for success. So now people are going to the QR code and phoning us and asking about water quality results. So that means people are using them, checking them out, and then they know you as a municipality are actually supporting having water quality monitored. So I think that's a big win-win. We have had some challenges. I guess the more you're out there and the more you're seen, and maybe it's also just a sign of the times, we are facing more personal harassment, whether it's online, face-to-face, on the phone, and it's taking time and concern, both from a health and safety standpoint, but it's hard for people to work when they are either scared or have been scared. So we've had a few incidents. We have hired Georgian College. I know Oro-Medonte, again, thank you to your staff, who we reached out to and said, who do you use for crisis training? Because we knew there'd been some. And they suggested Georgian College. So we're having a training session with Georgian College just on managing crisis and how do you deal with difficult people on the phone or in person. And even unfortunately, we now have staff who can help other staff with what happens if, for instance, you're approached on a trail and that you're not comfortable. So that's where we're heading with that. The government relations piece we've already seen. I did also want to say thank you to Tay. Your staff reached out to us about trying to find some cost savings in the overall work for the partnership. So we've had a meeting with them and they had quite a list of things, including now we'll be using, instead of going through a gas station, we're going to be using the township gas pumps. So clearly we'll still be paying the township back for the fuel, but it will be much more cost effective than going outside. They've offered to have us use their mechanic. Basically, it's just a whole list of, we would have to pay for shredding. They said, well, you hardly have any shredding, and when we get the shredder in, just bring your boxes. So it's just been really, I think that it's a great start. We used to do a lot of that with Midland a million years ago. But now I think we're sort of back on track with just some of those cost savings. So hopefully we'll see that reflected in the budget over time. I'm going to leave it at that.
That's great. Thank you. Questions, comments, Gary?
Just a comment. Julie, I got to apologize for this. Residents are that we have some staff. By all means, make one phone call and charge them. We have no problems in having the folks here. I just want to make that clear. Nobody should take anything as far as harassment.
Thank you.
So by all means, reach out to whatever is available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, it's a good point. It's very disappointing when you see that happen, and unfortunately, I think we're seeing it happen more and more. Whatever reason.
And thank you for highlighting it. I think it's important that we also see this. We're seeing in our municipalities more facing support staff and something. It's important that we be aware of it, and then we more like you're right. We want to be supportive as municipalities and as partners, and nobody needs to be subject to that. We'll feel threatened and perspective. So let's do better as
for the record. Any other questions, comments? All right, so motion 2025-047, resolve that the executive director staff report 26-25 SSEA regarding Q2 update be received for information. Moved by Steph, seconded by Mark. All those in favor? We're moving on to number 9, announcements. Are there any that have announcements to make? We just go on and house.
This Saturday, all things Canadian in beautiful downtown. Actually, we're down to one this year in Rotary Park. So if you want to come by and check that out, and I'm looking at but all good. So yeah, and we're excited about the open house on August 15th and at the Crowd Club, and so showcasing that art again. So pretty great.
None of the August 15ths are teed off with tape, so unfortunately, none of us are going to be able to make them.
You're not too far away, though. You can go between.
I'll come down when I go.
Yeah, sure.
We'll make that the 20th. 19th.
There we go.
We get them over the bar. It is.
Okay.
It's just good to accept it, right?
Just top, on top, put the tees up and ladies' tees will be profitable.
I'm senior though, I need to play out for you.
I just played in the June, the Glen Howard Tournament. We're playing tips and I think, yeah.
Bring back it. But you gotta get your money's worth.
Steph?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, just wanted to share that Tiny Township applied for delegation to the Ministry of Environment and AMO. We were successful, and the application was with regards to increasing resources, lab load, etc., for the monitoring of inland lakes. SSEA provided staff support getting the proposal in, and based on resources available, may or may not be sending a staff member with our tiny delegation to help advocate for those additional supports with our inland lakes. And this all stemmed because the SSEA did provide the Township of Tiny and myself as the rep with the heads up that unfortunately our lake level algae projectors, I don't have the technical term, Julie could help, we're trending towards another blue-green algal bloom for this season. So wish us luck. And if anybody's at AMO from this table and wanted to join that delegation, you are most welcome.
Thank you, Steph. Anybody else? All right, then correspondence, no closed session. Any other business? Cool. All right, then motion to adjourn. Motion 2025-048 resolved at this meeting of the SSEA Board of Directors held July 24th, 2025, adjourned at 12:24 p.m. to begin October 30th, or at the call of the chair. By Barry, seconded by Lori. All those in favor? Great. Thank you, everyone.